tell you yesterday. So after 4 weeks and two days, I find Mama in Calais back. So I took Mama on my bicycle and I was going to the place where I was in Paris Plage. It was 80 kilometers, this is 135 miles.
From Calais?
From Calais to Le Touquet, Paris Plage. This is the name of the city where I was the 4 weeks without bomb. And I was there only 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the Germans gave an order that everybody must go back to his place. So, and Mama was, like you know, pregnant, and the Germans give us a truck, and Mama was feeling good. This was the end of June 1940. And after a week, 2 weeks I think, we was back in Antwerp, so your mother was born.
Oh, you went back to Antwerp from Calais?
Yes, from Calais. No, from Le Touquet.
Yeah, right, Le Touquet.
So your mother was born.
July 3rd.
And this start of a family now with a child. And the first time when the Germans was in Belgium was not so bad. And the business was going good, the diamond business, and you know all the kinds of business that we can do in time from war.
Yeah.
And I was making money. And this was just the beginning of July 1942. June 1942. The Germans gave an order that all the Jews in my age must go in the north of France for working, for Hachara, I should say. And we must go to a doctor from the Germans, like before that you go to the military.
Oh yeah, checkup.
And this was Shabbos. Shabbos I was there, and Tuesday, all my family was decided that I must go away. I can't stay to go to the north of France. I got many of Haverim who was going, and I was going to Paris with a smuggler, you know, who you call the smuggler, people who occupied with taking...
Smugglers?
Yes, who taking people on the other side from the border.
Yeah.
And I was in Paris after 1 day.
You just went by yourself, not with your family?
Alone.
With Mama and my mother?
No, nobody.
Oh.
Alone. I was in danger for the moment, you understand? I must go to the north of France, by the Germans.
Yeah.
For working. So, after 1 day, the smuggler, the girl from the smuggler who smuggled me from Belgium to Paris, he came and she told me that she heard that she was just coming from Belgium, and she heard on the train that the Germans take all the Jews away. So I write quickly a letter to Grandma and I say, Liebe Regina, don't wait for liquidate. She was saying for liquidate everything. Don't liquidate nothing. Take Lily and your mother and your sister and come over to Paris. So it took 2 days and she came over. But this was not so what the Goya, what the smuggler told me. But the Germans start for liquidate the Jews from Antwerp only in Tischendorf, and this was in August.
Alright.
So, but we was together in Paris, and from Paris we was going to the non-occupied France. You know, it was the Vichy France, eh?
Lyon?
And we was going, it was not so easy to go, don't worry, but we come on in Lyon.
Was that non-occupied?
And Lyon was not occupied.
Oh, okay.
But the France was worse than the Germans.
They gave, what do you mean, they gave it to them?
Anti-Semitism, and
Oh.
we take everything with, don't ask. The French was not nice in this war
They weren't.
to the Jews. And then I was in Lyon, and I told you yesterday the history in Lyon, no?
Yeah, that you...
Is it enough that I told your father?
Yeah, you can go over it just quick if you can.
So in Lyon, between time I was going at Aix-les-Bains, and on the end of 1942, beginning 1943, I got my last letter. The smuggler brought me a letter
Schmidt.
from my father, and he was not yet deported. And he wrote me and he asked me, pity that I write you this, don't stay in France, let me have one son survived from the Germans, go to Switzerland. So to Switzerland we must smuggling. It was not so easy to go. But if my father asked me that, so I take the best occasion, and you know the special occasion that I got for having to Switzerland, and I was in Switzerland. And the way from the no-occupied France to the occupied France, from the occupied to the no-occupied, the same way my mother-in-law and his younger daughter, sister of Mama, she take the same way, and she was kept by the Germans.
She was caught?
Yes. She take the same way. The smuggler take only two big people. He doesn't like to take everybody together.
So you took two at a time?
And the second time,
They were
she
caught.
feeling the Germans, the hand from the Germans.
Huh.
And she's no more here. She was deported from a camp in France. And I was alone, staying with Mama and your mother. So we was from the 18th of February, just the first 1943, just the 1st May 1945. We were
In Switzerland?
In Switzerland, in the camps, one camp, second camp. This is a history for itself. And after I was chief, in the last camp I was chief.
You're the head?
I was not the head between the Jews. Yeah? But there was a Lagerleiter, a Swiss Lagerleiter, and I and Mechel Katz, a friend of me, we were the leaders from this camp. And I was the techniker from the camp. This was in Morgin. We got there 4 hotels occupied by 380 people. And Morgin is on the French border outside, 1800 meters high.
It's in Switzerland.
In Switzerland, it was called Morgin, and on the other side, from the mountains, is France. So all the Jews who would like to go back to Belgium or to France was going by Morgin. So the Swiss government sent government man to us in Morgin, and he told, if we will attract, keep one of the people that's going from the border to the border, we will put them in jail. So
They didn't want anybody to leave?
no, we must wait just the order. You know that this must be an order to go, and we got not yet order. So I was one of the leaders from the camp, and I say to the camp leader, from the Swiss camp leader, I don't see what he say. The 1st of May, and I was a person that the hotel can't stay 1 day without me. So I tell them the 1st May I quit. And everybody say, you will see, he will put you in your jail. But it was not like this. I was going by 11 o'clock, 5 from my friends take the luggage, and we was going, and the leader from the camp called to the customs and say, don't let go the custom officers now on the way. Mr. Peterfreund must go to France. So we saw nobody, and the 5 Haveren take my luggage, and we bring me to France, and he was going back in the camp in Morgin.
What year was this?
Huh?
What year was this?
The 1st May of 1945.
This is after the war?
This is different. In after the war was the 8th May.
5th May?
8th May. And this was the 1st May. But half of Antwerp was already liberated. You understand?
Yeah.
And half of Holland. It was different after the Van Rundstedt offensive. You know what the Van Rundstedt offensive is, no? Don't know what it is? It was when in April 1945, when France was already, Belgium was already in the Wallonie was already liberated. So the Germans make a second attack, and I think in this attack 110,000 American soldiers was dead in Belgium.
Were killed?
Was killed. This was the last attack. Anyway, yeah. I was going back via France, and we were staying a few weeks in France. Just we got the order to be reported to Belgium. And I come back in Antwerp in 1 day before Erechevours 1945.
What day? May what?
It was
After the war.
after the war. This was in June 1945.
So when you got back, and you brought Mama and Mommy with you, my mother, they were with you.
And Mama was together, but just Brussels. In Brussels, I lived them in a hotel, and I go to the train from Brussels to Antwerp was not like now. Now you make it in 28 minutes, and this time you must make it by 3 hours. All the bridge was broken.
3 hours.
So you must go down and up and down and up. So I was alone, and she was staying in an hotel, Bonmama and your mother. And
When did
one
you...
day later, this was in June 1945.
Right.
And then I come, one day later I go back and I take mother, Bonmama and your mother, and I was going to Belgium, and I got no more apartment, nothing was staying.
You went back
And
to
I
Antwerp?
lived, yes, and I lived in a small hotel in the Vestingstraat, and this was Erich Chevaux. And Chevaux, I was invited by Mrs. Prager, somebody who was already in Antwerp. When we was coming back to Antwerp, not one glass was in Antwerp. I say, there was nothing glass, only on my watch.
Everything was broken?
Everything was broken. Antwerp was bombarded by the V2 and V1. You know what?
That was in American troops.
No, the Germans.
German troops.
Not ships. It's like the...
The planes.
No, the Victory 1, Victory 2, he got planes without pilots on the rackets.
Oh.
This is the first rackets on the world. The German was the first. And he put it for the port, for Antwerp, Rotterdam and Coventry. For the two towns. So Antwerp was black. And so I started working a few days later in diamonds, and this was the beginning after the war.
And how did it do in the beginning?
Yeah.
How did the business do in the beginning?
Very good.
There are less people than here.
In
Hilton?
So business did well in the beginning?
I think there's nobody.
I started the business, and I was really with muzzle, and I grant a big every day more and more and more. So just in between time I was in Africa, I sent the people, and I make offices in all African states, in Liberia, in Accra, in Bujumbura, this is Burundi.
You had offices all around the world?
All mine offices on Holocaust Peterfreund offices for buying diamonds, and I was one of the biggest. Just I started with Joe, and Joe cost me millions of dollars.
Yeah.
He was a gunner and nothing. So, and then the history of Anthony made me so that I can't work more, and I'm retired and I do nothing. I have my office, I go every day to the office.
You do go to the office now?
Yeah, a little work in my office, but I do nothing more.
Yeah. So what do you do in the office?
I read a book, I read a paper, I see some goods from Elito, he asked me what to do and with
Is he doing well?
Yes, he started to do well.
Yeah, he's doing good. So
now you can ask, you know everything, you can ask me questions.
When you, after a few years when you were back in Belgium, did you like, were you involved in politics?
No.
No?
No, generally, Legion Jews is not in a Belgian politics. But I was certainly we got in Belgium a centrale for Jewish help, for social help. There I was more than 20 years in. And therefore I got my decoration for working to be president of the social commission.
You were president of the social
commission? I was. I do no more.
What was the name of the
Centrale.
Central Commission?
Centrale for Jewish help. For Jewish help. And in this Centrale you have a division for social work. And I was, from the social work, I was the president.
You were the president?
Not from the Centrale.
No.
I was from the social work.
And the king gave you something, or was the president?
No, one of the ministers.
One of the ministers.
But in the name from the king. And he's calling officer in the Crown Order from the Leopold I.
Oh, so it was a big thing.
Yeah.
After a few years, this is like what I asked you
And
before.
I got another decoration also. This was before, for being 30 years in the diamond business. I have also a decoration.
Did you, what?
And all the two decorations is in my office called.
Yeah. So, were you in upper class now?
I was in upper class. I was.
You were upper class.
Just the history of St. Annie and the children make me sick and so.
You're not anymore.
Oh.
But in the beginning you started off in lower, in middle.
No, it was not long. And after 9 months in the town he spoke about Peterfreund something.
Ah, so that was. Were you involved in culture? Were you involved in did you enjoy art? Did you work with art?
What?
No, but were you involved in
this is the vision of your Mama.
Oh, Mama was involved in that.
She is involved for culture, for
you weren't involved in any social events?
I told you.
Oh.
I work in social events.
Right. What was your view on politics after the war? After everything was back in order?
Which kind of politics you mean?
The government.
A government politics, for telling you the truth, when I give my voting, I vote for the Catholics.
You vote for the Catholics?
Yeah.
But you didn't.
I don't like the socialists.
You don't like the socialists?
No.
Why?
The people in Belgium is more friendly for Jewish with the Catholics more than the socialists.
More than the socialists. Yeah. But aren't the socialists like the? Because you were a boss, you were involved in diamonds, and you were in charge of the whole company.
Yes.
So you must have been like a socialist, because the socialists.
No, this is not like in America.
Oh,
You can't compare the politician and the working in Europe like in America. You can't do that.
oh, it's not
You
like.
don't understand that.
It's not like that.
Oh, okay. When we was going from the occupied France to the non-occupied, I tell you that my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law was given by the Germans. You know who? A soldier. We was going just the border from the occupied to non-occupied. And my smuggler bring me there in the house, but there was plenty of schickses, and the Germans is coming in from the border there, and I was also in the same house by the peasants. So Mudamni Bogama and your mother, we was going like peasants. Peasants, did they say?
Peasants.
Peasants. Was going in the feld. What do you say?
In the field.
In the field. And we're going, it was a big field, and one side occupied and the other side no occupied. And when my mother-in-law and the other, a few days later, so a German soldier was together with the Schicksal, one from the house, and he saw two women going from one to the other, and he picked them up. So no one muzzle.
He didn't catch you.
Yeah.
He
Not
didn't.
me. My mother-in-law and Ruth.
Oh.
So, what I'd like to tell you, when we come on from in the non-occupied, in Lyon, the smuggler, can't find the smuggler.
He left you.
I left him. I don't know what's happened. I don't remember me. But anyway, he put me in a cafe by Italian people. Because Italian people, so low people. And I was staying there with your mother, who was a baby from 18 months. And we were staying in this cafe. It was 12 at night. And the Italians say, oi, no, mamma dia, like
Mamma
the Italians,
mia, mamma
mamma mia. And so one of the Italian women was a tailor. She was a tailor. She called to me in French, come up to my apartment, I give you a bed for you that you can sleep. Italians. So she go over in her bed and she give a mommy and Mama and your mother the bed. And her husband give the bed on me.
So you slept there?
I said, yeah. And I was staying in this house, then I give him, in this house, Mama and your mother was Jewish. And I was a big moustache and hairs, so I was a Flemish boy. Charles, Mr. Charles. And so by everything, I must make all the Catholic things. And mother and your mother and Mama, she was liberated, she's Jews. Jews who married by a Flemish Catholic. You understand?
Yeah.
So for the night from Christmas.
But did Mama and my mother come ever out of the apartment, or they stayed in the apartment?
He came out in the street there, yes. In the Christmas night I must go to the church, but all the day he was cooking chazer and I can't smell it. But I was going to the church together with the Italian people. Before the church, all the come up and I feel on the sleep.
You fell?
Haloshes.
You fainted?
I feel. I was dead. So he keep me up and he bring me back in the house. So I was not in the church, I was in Ashramayim. But there I was a goy. Uncle Sharo.
Where did those people sleep? Where who the people that?
In Nullis, he got the big apartment.
Oh. So
Pover.
how long did you stay there?
From August 1942,
Yeah.
just February 1943.
Oh, so a few months.
Yes,
7 months.
7 months.
And then you went up to, you crossed the mountains.
Switzerland.
Yeah, crossed the Switzerland. And yeah.
Okay, I was born in 1940, July 3rd, 1940, and I was born 6 weeks after the German came into Belgium.
Okay.
Okay. I was born in Antwerp, Belgium, under the bombs of the Germans.
What do you mean under the
The
bombs?
bombs were flying over the city of
Germans bombed the
Antwerp,
city.
and that's when I was born. And my mother needed a special how do you say curfew to go to the hospital. She had to walk to the hospital to give birth, and she needed a special curfew after a certain hour.
She needed like permission?
German permission, yeah, from the Germans.
Wow. Alright. So you stayed in Belgium until when?
Okay, we stayed for 2 years in Antwerp. The Germans had an arrangement in Belgium for about 2 years. They did not bother the Jews because they had an interest in keeping the diamond industry that was in the hands of the Jews. They needed the diamond industry because they needed the diamonds, industrial diamonds, to make tools and arms. They used industrial diamonds in it.
And the Jews
so for 2
controlled
years,
the diamond
yes,
business.
they controlled the whole diamond industry. So they did not bother the Jews at all. And that's where we stayed for 2 years.
Right, the Germans didn't bother the Jews because they had an interest in
Alright,
that.
good after.
About 2 years later, about 2 years after they came in, my father, Papa, was dealing with people, and some people went and reported him to the authorities, which was the Belgian authorities and the German. So they put him in jail for 1 day.
They put Papa in jail?
Yeah, for 1 day. While during his stay in jail, he heard terrible things. He saw terrible things and he heard terrible things. And he decided that he did not want to stay anymore in Belgium under the Germans. So Papa had a big family in Belgium. But I have to say that my parents were born in June 6, 1939. Okay? And Mama came from Germany.
What do you mean they were born in June 6, 1939?
No, they got married, I'm sorry. They got married the year before. And Mama came, she was already in Belgium and she had met Papa, and they got married on June 6th. Now, Mama's family came from Poland originally, but they lived in Berlin, Germany, the capital. So when for the wedding, because the Germans were already controlling everything, so they didn't let Mama's father and sister come to the wedding. So the only one that Mama had was her mother and her middle sister. And her father and her younger sister stayed in Germany. Okay, so now we go back to when Papa went to his parents, and he told them, I'm not staying here anymore. This is very bad. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. They had no idea of camps. They had no idea what was done. They just knew that the Germans wanted to destroy the Jewish people. That's all what they knew. But what was happening in Belgium, the population, they didn't know. They didn't have any phones like that. I mean, they didn't have papers like. So they had no idea that they had all these camps.
Wasn't that enough to make them leave?
But things were good. Things were okay.
Want me to get an extra memory card?
So Papa's father begged Papa to stay, got a little bit upset even with him, and he said, things are going to turn better. We're going to stay here. We can't go and move everybody. But I have to tell you another story that I forgot that happened before. While Mama was pregnant,
Hold on.
You're going to talk about your cousin?
the Germans came in Belgium in June 1940. But before that, which was like in May, right, 1940, the people heard that the Germans were coming in, because the Germans started, the first countries that they went in from the western side
Poland.
was, that's eastern. From the west was Holland, They invaded Holland. Then they invaded Belgium, and then they invaded France. Okay, the three countries. And then all this happened like in a few weeks. Just France, that's another story. But France, they only invaded half, and then a year later they invaded the other part.
Right.
Anyway, one part, and then they invaded the other part. So in May 1940, a lot of people from Belgium got scared because they knew that the Germans, but they had no idea that the Germans were going to come to France. The Belgian government, there was a king, and he let them come in. He didn't fight, nothing. And that king got in big trouble after the war. He had to give up his whole kingdom because
he let the Germans
accused
in?
him. They accused him of being pro-Nazi because he didn't want to fight. He said, "We're
Was he a
too weak."
coward or was he pro-Nazi?
No, he was not pro-Nazi, but he remarried his second wife's father was a Nazi. So that's why he had all that trouble. Anyway, that was the great-grandfather of the king that's now. Okay. Anyway, so a lot of Jews took trains and cars and whatever, and they tried to get into France, okay, which was free at that time. They ran away from Belgium, and they went to France. When Bon Mama, at one point, got lost from Bon Papa, okay, they went trains, and for some kind of reason they got lost. So when she came to the border between Belgium and France saw that she was very pregnant. She was in her 9th month already. They said, nothing to do. You can't stay here. We don't want any babies born here, Jewish babies, whatever. You go back. So she went back on the train, back to Antwerp. And thank God she met somebody she knew, and she said, look for my husband and tell him that I'm back in Antwerp. So that's why I always joke, especially with your grandfather, because when he says you're not French, but you're Belgium, and I always tell him I'm almost French because I could have been born in France. Right?
I never knew that.
And you never knew that, okay. Anyway, so now we go back. So we left Belgium, okay? And we went to the north of Belgium.
How old were you when you guys left?
2.
So another 2 years after that, they were still in Belgium.
They still fighting in Belgium.
No, because you said that
Another
she
2
gave birth. She came back and gave birth to you in Belgium, and that was after they wanted to escape already, right? So that means that they.
No, this was not. Then they stayed in Belgium, like about, I don't know. I think a year, something like that.
Okay.
But how did you meet up with Bumper how did Bumper meet up with Bumper after?
She told people, she saw it. She
And he
told him,
came-
tell him to take the train, and I'm going back to Antwerp.
Oh, so they saw him and told.
And he
And
came
that's
back to
how-
Antwerp.
Papa was looking all over, and they went. So that's how we came back to Antwerp, and his family everybody
you
was
never
there.
went into France.
What?
You never went into France.
Yes, because when the second time when we went,
Oh.
so we took trains, and we went to the north of France, and every 2 weeks they threw us out. They didn't throw you out, but every 2 weeks there was problems with work and you had to make a living. So every 2 weeks, so we went through the whole north of France.
You kept moving.
What? We
Okay.
started going. Sometimes we had to be hidden. One time we were hidden in a farm.
You were in like
In a farm, and sometimes we were
people
hidden.
took you in.
What?
People took you in.
Because we were running from the German.
I'm saying people took, like the family took you in.
Yeah. Then we went to one place, Annecy, which is on the lake, beautiful place on one of the French lakes, near the border of Switzerland, and we stayed there for about a month in a house. We went back eventually to look at to see it. I saw it, and we stayed, and we kept moving north a little bit till we got to the middle of the country in France. Okay. And that place was still free when we came there. Area of France, which is Lyon.
Okay.
Okay. And when we got there, we walked in the street, and suddenly 2 men, a father and a son, they were originally Italians living in France,
Jews?
came over. No. And they said to us, the Germans are going to be here anytime. and you are Jewish, so you better come to us. So they put us in one big room. Eventually, there was Papa and Mama and me, and then there was another family, a couple from Belgium or also
Were you
hiding.
with them the whole time? Or
Yeah,
you bumped
we were
into
there
them?
like about a year, and a little bit more than a year. And then there was one man who was a member of the resistance, so he was hiding there also. And we all lived together for a good year. Okay.
You still remember them, these people?
No, yeah, I met the couple. Yeah, I knew
seen them
them.
since
They
then?
lived in Forest Hills. What?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Were you in touch with them?
I was still about I don't know how many years. He came here one time.
Where is this?
The old couple came here.
This is in France?
Yeah, in Lyon. That's in the middle, right in the middle.
Leon or Neil?
Lyon.
Alright, I know Leon.
Anyway, when we came to, so we stayed there for about a year. Okay, and most of the time we stayed indoors, in the room. And then, the Jews are never afraid of anything. So there was a cafe in Lyon with the Germans there. There was a cafe where all the Jews, all the men used to meet and play cards, right under the nose of the Germans, And one day, I'm telling you stories that I remember, that I was told, one day this general came in with his entourage, and I spoke German, by the way. Why did I speak German? Because Mama had papers as an Italian originally from German woman, and Papa had paper as a non-Jew Belgian. Papa really looked not Jewish. He was blonde. He had a big mustache like Hitler, like the same time,
Blue eyes.
and blue eyes. And Mama looked Italian because she had very dark hair and dark eyes. So that's what the papers that they made us was like that. So anyway, so now
How'd you get these papers?
because people were doing trafficking.
Like
and
in
they were,
Belgium?
No,
In
in France.
Oh.
In France. So we stayed. So then these Germans came in, and this general saw me, and he said, "Oh, what a cute little girl," and he said, "Come on my lap." So I spoke German. I understood him, so I go, what can I do? And he was playing, and he says, "What's your name?" And I said, "Lily," all this in German. I didn't tell him I was Jewish, I didn't know about that,
But you completely
Anyway.
understood what was going on.
What?
Right? You understood what was going on, right?
No, I was 2.5 years old.
You didn't speak. All you spoke was German.
All what I spoke
You didn't
was
know you were
German.
Jewish.
She was Ricky.
No, does Ricky know that she's Jewish?
You're right.
Whatever. So he started asking this question. He was playing with me a little bit, and then he gave me back to Papa, who was there. And then Papa came home, back to the room, and he told Mama. And Mama said, "I can't take this. I can't take this. What's going to happen if suddenly they discover that we're Jewish? You can't go out anymore." So he said, "I cannot not go out." He kept saying, Mama was like a real free spirit, and he says, "No way am I going to stay." So they said, "Okay, so let's leave." So we went to Switzerland. We crossed the border to Switzerland.
How did you do that?
And we crossed illegally.
How did you cross? Like,
Do you ever see the movie The Sound of Music?
Yeah.
Oh.
Through the
Do
hills.
you remember how they went through the hills?
Yeah.
Did you see them there?
watched it
You don't
on,
see how they get.
it was
You
just
just
on
see them
TV.
walking up.
On the hot
What?
spot.
You don't see
And
how
they sing, "Fly every mountain."
Did you see them, Eva?
What?
Did you see them all crossing the mountain?
No, I didn't see them because they went from Austria to Switzerland, and we went from France to Switzerland.
You walked,
This is
you
all
walked
border.
across the hills, or you drove through it?
What?
You drove through the hills.
No, who drove? We walked. We walked, and they were holding me, carrying me. Okay. So anyway, we get to the border, all right, and then we take a train and we go into the city, Zurich, all right, and there was a Jewish community there. So we knew that that's what we
Was
would
Switzerland
have to
under the German occupation?
go. No,
German
Switzerland
was
was
the
never
entire war.
invaded
Because the mountains, the Germans don't want
because
to
the
risk it.
German always left Switzerland free. Okay, I'll
Both
tell you a
worlds.
story from that also. Anyway, so we get to the border, and they had these tables set up. Like in Israel. You ever see the movie how the limbs came with the boats on the beach? I had a cousin who was one of the people that.
What, invasion of Normandy?
No, when they came here in Israel, when everybody, all the
Like Exodus.
illegal people,
Exodus.
boats. Yeah, and then they came. So they had in Haifa, They had these tables set up.
Yeah, Exodus.
And you went, okay. And I know this because
Awesome,
I had a cousin who was working in Israel doing that. So anyway, so now we come there, and next to us is a family with two or three children, and they came from Germany. No, we came originally from Belgium, and they came from Germany. So they said they had all kind of rules in Switzerland, and at that time the rule was that if you had one child under 6, you could stay. If you had one child or no more over 6, they would send you back. So this family was standing next to us, and they had children over 6 years old. So they said, you come from Germany, we are putting you on the train back to Germany. So the father said, if you're sending us to Germany, then I will kill myself. And they said, nothing doing, you have to go back to Germany. So in front of us, and I think I remember that vaguely, there was a tramway coming through. He jumped on the tramway, killed himself.
And his family?
And his family was sent back to Germany. That's how cruel the Swiss people were. Because people think that they were very nice. They were very cruel. Okay?
Selling chocolates and wash on it.
What?
Telling that the products in there are not interesting.
Anyway, so now we are in Switzerland, and we went, and they decided that Papa had to work. So they put him to build the roads, the highway. And we had pictures of Papa carrying big stones, and he was impossible. He would never wanted to go. He couldn't get up in the morning. So he wouldn't go to work, and Mama used to shake him, and she used to say, they're going to throw us back in Germany if you don't work. And well, finally, they heard that there were camps, refugee camps. I was 3 years old when I got to Switzerland. So they said, you know what, we'll go to the camps, and nothing will be worse than the camps. Now we got to Switzerland. And what did they do with us? They put us in these refugee camps. Now, what was the refugee camp? They took up, all the way up in the Alps, near the French border, near Geneva, that's all the way up in the Alps. They took 2 hotels, and they made that the refugee camps. And in between the 2 big hotels, maybe there were 4 floors, 5 floors, I don't know, there was a little place. And that was the place for the children. So during the week, the children had to be separated from the parents. And on Shabbos, they were allowed to, the parents came to pick up their children, and they were allowed. I'm not going to go into details, but I was a very bad eater, and there was all kinds of problems. Anyway, Papa became the chef cook, because he always loved cooking. So
Really?
they made him, yes, he was an electrician also.
He was good?
Yeah, he told Mama how to cook. Mama did not know how to
Mama
cook.
was an incredible cook, no?
Yeah, but Papa told her.
He's famous for
Anyway,
ice salad.
so he took so Papa was the chef cook, and Mama, who spoke a lot of languages, they put her, and she became the head of the office.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, in the camp. All right, so we lived there very peacefully. And then in 1944, towards the end of the war already, one time the Germans threw a bomb on the camp. Okay? And this I remember. And
They
the
bombed the
Germans threw a bomb, the German, but they were not allowed to do it because Switzerland, it was in Switzerland, and Switzerland was a free country. So they were really not allowed to. And a miracle that it was on a Shabbos. So the children were all with their parents. And they threw it on the place, on the children's thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then they apologized. So we had to stand in line like this, like a big circle. And there was a German general, there was a German ambassador, and then there was, I don't know. Anyway, the Swiss, the German, the Red Cross, I remember, they were all there, and they apologized. And they said, we made a mistake. We thought this was France. And in France, we're allowed to bomb, because it's our country. They owned, they were there. And here we're not, so we're apologizing. But we all knew that this was, somebody must have told them where the children's camp was. But they didn't tell them that on Shabbos, the children were, so nobody got killed.
On Shabbos it was empty.
Yeah.
Wait, but the Shabbos was a Jewish thing? Or
There was a refugee camp.
It was a Jewish refugee camp.
There were about 3 refugee camps in Switzerland.
Oh, and that general knew you who you were?
But where did you guys stay on Shabbos?
In the camp, we just did not stay in the children's house, whatever it was. You know, it was like a low. I still remember it was like a low place. You know. Anyway, and this Nof that I just said, I thought it was Nof. This girl, her mother was in the camp also, and her mother worked under Bomama. You know, she was much younger, and she worked. And last time she was here, she died about 4 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago. She died 2 weeks after Pesach here. And here, I would go to the pool, and she used to talk to me about Mama because she worked under her. And she used to say to me, she was so smart. She knew all these languages. You know, like she was like full of admiration. And I remember you were so cute, you know. So I found, you know, she's here. She lived in Belgium, and her daughter lives in Sabion, whatever, you know. So, anyway, so this is what happened in Switzerland.
Yes. Do you want me to get a milkshake?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
So this after that, it was like towards the end already. They had radios. They all knew what was going on. They didn't know about the camps, but they knew what was going on. That the Americans came in June. What year did the Germans come in? The Americans D-Day. What year was that?
June 6, 1944.
Okay. So after that, the Americans were already in France. And Bob Papa was very uncomfortable with this whole thing that happened. So he decided...
Which with the bomb?
Yeah. And he said, this is all Swiss. I don't like the Swiss people. I don't know what's going to happen after the war. So he said the best country, that was always the best country to live with, was Belgium. Okay? He didn't know yet that everybody was gone. Okay? So
what do you mean everybody? Like the Germans?
In 1943, I told you 2 years they didn't bother the Jews in Belgium. Mm-hmm. And in 1942, the end of 1942, they decided enough is enough. And they assembled, and they wanted to take, there were 40,000 Jews living in Belgium. And if I'm not mistaken, they took 20,000, and the others, most of them were hidden in Belgium. Okay? So they took, and out of the family of Bob Papa, there were 40 members of the family that they took.
40 people, 40 Peterfreunds?
40 people.
And soon survived.
You know, I married Peter, you know. But, and how do we know? Because somebody went to look at the assembly. There was a camp where they assembled everybody between Antwerp and Brussels. And he found they took a record of every person that they took. And we have that book. Jackie has that book now. What? They took them from Antwerp. They took them from Antwerp, Brussels, and they assembled them and they sent them on the train straight to Auschwitz. Straight to the chamber.
Survived like that long, just like at the end.
Yeah.
Hold on, Nima, I have a question. Wasn't during the war, were you guys looking after your 3 cousins, or was that after the war?
No, my cousins is another story. My 3 cousins,
Jack, Arnold.
they were the son of one of Papa's brother. And this brother used to know a non-Jewish person who worked with him in the diamond business. And towards the end, he felt that something was going to happen. So he asked that non-Jewish person to take his 3 sons with him. So they were hiding in a little town next to Antwerp.
The whole war?
For another 3 years. Yes.
You were close to them when you lived in...
When I grew up, yes. Because Papa found them, you know. He heard that they were there, so he took them out and he brought them to Antwerp.
And they grew up with you?
And they grew up with me. But now we're going back to, so we left.
He died.
What?
He died?
Who?
Your father?
Yes. Yeah, he was 40 member of the family. 40 Peterfreunds.
I have the book, tells the story of Mima's cousins.
Yeah, you know, you should give it to them. We have to get it. I can get it in New York.
Called,
Anyway, so what happened was that,
Angel
at the end, so now we're back in Switzerland. So a few people decided they're going to go back. They're going back. Part of France was already free, and they're going back to Belgium. So we went through the snow, like this, Must have been already like, and we crossed up the Alps and we went back to France. We didn't stay in France too long, and then we went to Belgium. And the Belgium, part of Belgium was free already. And you all heard of the Battle of Bastogne? You never heard of Bastogne?
No.
Okay, so Bastogne was where the Americans, they got to this is in the south of France, okay? The north of France was Bastogne. And the north of France was already free because they had Dunkirk. You heard of Dunkirk? What? Dunkirk was right next to Belgium. And that was free already. So we went straight to the north and we got to Antwerp, okay? But part of Belgium was still battling. They were still fighting. The American.
The citizens started fighting with the Germans.
I think so. I don't remember exactly.
The Belgians were fighting the Americans?
What?
Yeah, they're fighting.
Well, the Germans...
The Belgium had a resistance, like the French.
No, the citizens
Every
took their
hundred.
boats instead.
What?
All like the French people started taking their boats, like from Dunkirk.
Yeah. I don't remember. But there's a lot of books and there's a lot of movies that were made about Dunkirk.
I heard that during the war, Grandpa used to sell watches to American soldiers.
Okay, that's when he came. That's when we left Switzerland. So we stayed in Switzerland a little bit, and then we went to France, and all the American soldiers were there. All the Walker is there. Look. Anyway,
What's he doing?
he's looking for us. Maybe. Wait, let's.
Should we pause it?
He knows
No.
You had a woo-woo. That was Mama's sign, by the way. In Knokke, you couldn't open the door downstairs on Shabbos. So Mama used to stand on the boardwalk and she used to go. We lived like this. So she used to go, woo!
You must ever press the elevator button for the top?
Do it, yes. That would be nice. I forgot. Anyway,
So now you guys are back in France, in Dunkirk.
and then, we came back and then we went back to Antwerp. And there Papa started meeting all the American soldiers. So they were talking and they said, let's go into business. These American guys, they want to buy. They have money. So he knew a watchmaker. I don't know exactly that whole story. Anyway, he started putting together parts and he made watches. And he sold it. And that was his first big money. He made a lot of money like that with the German soldiers. But the American soldiers. But when we got to Antwerp, every Shabbos, the American soldiers that used to be in the south, they had heard that there was a little community in Antwerp. So every Shabbos, they would stay with us.
The Jewish American soldiers?
That's when you remember the man from Riverdale? When your parents got married? You remember that story? Okay, so I'll tell you the story. There was this man in Riverdale, a couple, and when his parents got engaged, came over to Shirley and Marty and said, what's the name of the people that just, So they said, well, from Belgium, their name was Peterfreund. So he said, Saul Peterfreund? So he said, yes. They said, yes, Saul Peterfreund is a grandfather. So he said, I have to see them. So anyway, so when we got engaged, Shirley said, then we came for Shabbos, for Shevebracha. Shirley said, come here. And there was Mama, but Papa was not alive anymore. And he starts taking Mama and he starts kissing her. And he says, you stay with us. You don't go back where you are. You stay with us. I'm so thankful to you. I came every Shabbos to your house. He was one of the soldiers.
These were Jewish
And
American
Mama
soldiers?
never forgot about it. And she kept saying, I don't remember him at all.
Oh, she
And
started forgetting stuff that.
yeah, this was after Papa died, right after Papa died. And she said, I just don't remember him. And he kept saying, Regina, don't you remember me? And he says, I'm taking you to the house. And she says, but I have to stay with my daughter. He says, nothing doing. I have to reciprocate for what you did for us during the war, after the war. So, but I remember the soldiers. There were like maybe 5 of them. They used to know, we're going to Antwerp, took a train, and we have Shabbos there. So that was it. So anyway, so when we came back to Belgium, something I never really asked, but I guess there was a maskiyof already there. And,
It was like a
you know,
butcher, like
because at the same time there was somebody who opened a little restaurant that was called Prager. I still remember that restaurant, you know, and there was food. They had food already.
Do you have any like cousins who were part of a resistance?
What?
Do you have any cousins who were like partisans or something?
No. But
Everyone
the
died.
war, but when we were hidden in France, one of the person who lived with us was a member of the resistance, a French, and used to hide with us.
Right, like when he lived there, place for a year.
What? Yeah.
When he lived there.
Did you talk to that guy after the war? I never heard
I
of him.
don't remember. But when I was 16 years old, we took the car and we went back to Lyon and we crossed all the towns in France that we had been. And we even stayed for a few weeks in one place. We took a house on the lake and the sea. And everything was great. We were all, I think I must have been like 15 years old, something like this. And Bob Papa got an allergy to the dog. There were dogs living in that house. And we had to run away from there very fast. Anyway, we went to Lyon and we went to the place exactly where we stayed. And of course, the main person wasn't alive anymore. But the son was there, and there used to be musicians. You know, the people who hid us in Lyon were musicians. Yeah, okay, stop
Like
for
the
a
husband
minute.
and wife?
Stop for a minute, please. Yeah. Hi. C'est mes petits-enfants. Une partie de mes petits-enfants.
Rocking anything.
Okay, now we're in 1945. We came back to Belgium. My father, Papa, rebuilt the whole community. He first rebuilt the school where that his father built originally. He rebuilt that. Then he rebuilt a school, which I attended, and then eventually my brother and my sister and my brother. And then there was a home for orphans, and he built it also. And there's a book that was published about this home.
It's called The Angels of Orphans.
Okay, and I suggest that you all read it. Anyway, and
All the millions of people that are going to see this video when it's published.
Anyway, and I went to elementary school in Besiakov, which was called Soyde. And it was a good school. Then for high school, I went to a non-Jewish high school. That was a special, very good school, and it was a French-speaking
Did you have a
high
boyfriend?
school. A little, well, not when I was 12, not
French
when I was,
boyfriend?
what?
No, French boyfriend. Okay, whatever's wrong.
Sorry.
Not going to talk about it. Anyway, and then when I was 13, I joined Akiva. That was the best part of my teenage group. I loved it. I became a madricha there. I went to the camps and I went to the seminars. And I went to seminars in France. I went to seminars in Italy, in France, and in Denmark. And from Denmark, I traveled. I went to Sweden and Norway.
Serving something.
I saw a big part of Italy. The seminar in Italy was right next to Verona, on the lake. And the seminar in France was in south of France, above the French Riviera, in the French canyons, they used to call it. It's called Le Var.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right. And then I graduated when I was 18. And when I was 19, I went to university in Brussels for 1 year. And then I went to London. And I lived in London for 1 year. And then I came back for 3 months. And then in 1962, Papa, that was my husband, having a hiccup.
No, it was me.
In 1962, I went with Papa in the summer. I came to New York. I packed a valise for 2 weeks because I really had no idea that I was going to stay there. And I came to America, and the rest is
All downhill since then.
all uphill.
All right, Mima.
Don't underrate yourself.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's not your
Do a
video,
good
Lisa. What are you
job with
doing?
it.
Yes, Mima.
Talk about with me.
Mima, good work.
Ay be ye ye yem hero